Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of DMP for That's My Podcast. Today, it is not just me. I have my friend Liz.
Hi, guys.
We just recently met and we decided to go ahead and collab. She also has her own podcast.
Yes.
If you want, you can go ahead and tell them the name of your podcast, where they can find you on everything.
Yes. So my podcast is called Thoughts by Liv. So on Instagram, it's at Thoughts by Liv Podcast. And it's also on YouTube, Thoughts by Liv, and on any podcast platform like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all of that. And it's really about like encouraging, supporting, and uplifting anyone and everyone who wants to listen. So,
Yeah, she just released an episode about its habits with people.
Habits to utilize when you want to let go of a specific person.
There we go.
Yes.
And I know we all have that one person at least. So
Yes.
y'all should go ahead and tune in.
Yes, definitely listen to it.
Yes. But today we actually, like, this topic got brought up whenever we first kind of met each other and we were just talking, and it just kind of naturally, this topic came up, talking about fitting in.
Yes.
And so that's pretty much what we wanted to get into today.
Yes.
Liv just got back from a smaller town in Canada.
Yes, I
right?
did. I used to live there.
Yes.
Yes. For 8 years, I lived there, and I felt like that's where, like, a lot of the trauma that I've had in my life happened, because I feel like being in a small town, there's so many expectations on who you are supposed to be. There are so many expectations. You're supposed to be this way, you're supposed to be that way. And if you're outside of that box, like, there's a lot of judgment and a lot of, like, hate towards yourself that comes on, because society's kind of telling you that's not how you should be, and you feel really out of place.
Yes.
Like, that causes a lot of issues with mental health too. So
Yeah. And trying to, like, find yourself, I feel like it's difficult because it's like you're constantly thinking about what other people like are trying to, like, how they're gonna view you, or like what they're gonna think, or if this is like what they want you to be, whatever. Because it's just everybody knows each other.
Exactly. And you get so caught up in, like, you can only be someone else if you're somewhere else. Like, but here you have to be this way. And I feel like that's why we're both so blessed that we moved to a place like LA. It's a big city, and I feel like there's so much room to grow and be like 100 different things. And everyone, not everyone, but most people support that here. Like, they want you to do different things. They want you to be different. They want you to be who you are. That's how I feel when I'm here. I feel very welcomed in this city.
Yeah.
You know?
I feel like it's been hard for me to meet people here. I feel like I've definitely clicked with a few people, me being one of them.
Yes.
And I think, like, it just randomly comes, like, but I think that's the most important thing. Like, one of the things that I remember I kind of wanted to touch on in this episode was just, like, not trying to force it. And I feel like that's, like, a very big thing, especially when you are in a big city, because there's so many people. And I think back home, when you're living in a small town, I feel like you kind of, like, at least for me, like, when I was growing up, and, like, I would go to church, and, like, there's, like, a smaller group of girls, and we would all hang out together. Like, that was just, like, the thing. Like, we didn't really have a choice. Like, and we just chilled. And, like, we made it work, and, like, I feel like I would probably still be, like, good friends with them to this day if, like, everything wouldn't have happened, like, with that issue. But, like, I think that that's the biggest that's, like, the biggest thing I feel whenever you're in this big city now, is, like, we have so many options of people to hang out with, and so not, like, trying to force anything and, like, force it to work. Like, it's okay. Like, everybody has different preferences and interests that, like, if you don't click with the group, like, you don't necessarily have to put all that energy into trying to make it work or trying to be something that you're not, because, like, you will find a group eventually. It just takes time, and I think that's, like, just a big thing. Focusing on quality is very
quality.
Yes.
I was gonna ask, so that group within the church, like, did you feel like you had to be a part of that friend group? Like, you felt, like, kind of pressured?
Yeah. Especially because, like, since I grew up super religious, my parents didn't let me do anything, like, extracurricular with school, and they didn't let me, like, hang out with people from school, like, outside of school. So, like, to me, it was, like, that was, like, the group. It was all that or nothing. So, like, I definitely, we had drama with it being, like, I think it was, like, 7 girls. So it's, like, there's drama between, like, oh, you're my best friend. No, you're my best friend.
Right.
You know, that
Oh my
type of
gosh.
jazz. Because,
Yeah.
like, growing up, you know, it's whatever. Because we're all, like, really close in age, like, within, like,
Yeah.
3 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But, yeah, I definitely felt like I had to.
Pressured. Yeah.
Yes. Did you feel like you had that? Like,
Yeah, I felt like there were certain like friend groups that I wanted to feel accepted by, even though I really didn't click with them. And that's not
Yes.
who I was. I wanted that to be who I was because I wanted them to like me. Like I had this whole thing where I felt like I wanted everyone to like me, and if they didn't, I was like, that was a problem for me. So I always took on like challenges with certain people, especially like my first situationship, my first like love. It's like I definitely like tried so hard to get them to like love me back or appreciate me because it was such a challenge. It just made me want to do it more and more and more. But
then
that's
you
like
lose yourself
yes,
within that.
yeah. So
Yeah.
honestly, it was like a lack of self-love, like just wanting to feel accepted by everyone else because maybe I didn't understand myself yet. You know, like not understanding really who I am because there was always such this like big deal on being black or white, especially in small towns. It's like you have to be, if you're black, you have to be saying the N-word, you have to be listening to this type of music. That's what makes you black. That's what it was.
Literally. Yeah, like how you speak, like
Yeah.
how are you presenting yourself,
Yeah.
like what, yeah.
Right,
for
when
sure.
that's not it at all. That's not what makes you black. Okay?
No, to me, I feel like that's almost racist of people to say,
Yeah.
like, because just like
It
going
is.
off stereotypes, it's just like,
Right.
okay, like I understand certain parts, like certain things are a part of the culture, but
Yes,
it's like,
yes.
you know, you don't have, not everybody looks the same, acts the same.
Yes,
like,
exactly. So I was always called like white girl by the black group, and then within the white groups I was friends with, I was always like told I'm too black. Like I've been, my white friends would say the N-word.
Oh my
black
gosh.
friends would say I'm like, since I'm not saying the N-word, I'm like not black. It's like so crazy. Like
Yeah.
that's the thing about small towns. Like they define who you are based off of stereotypes.
Yes.
When you're in a big city like this, it's like there is no stereotypes necessarily. You are who you are, and that's beautiful. Period. End of the story.
Period.
You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
there's no pressure here. Like I am who I am.
Yes.
Yeah, that's it.
So, I wanted to piggyback off of that,
Mhm.
like the stereotyping and everything like that, because I just feel like it's crazy that
Mhm.
every single, like, at least every mixed person that I have talked to has like had that story of like somebody called you something where it's like, oh, you're black on the outside but white on the inside, or you're just like, I remember when I was working at Hollister, there was this one girl and she was like, she literally said, I told her to get off her phone because I was like technically the manager, and it was just like she was on her phone at the front of the store, and it was just like she was one of those people that like never worked anyways. So it's like I wasn't being rude. I was just like, can you please get off your phone? I said it exactly like that.
Yeah.
Which I don't really feel like it's that bad if I'm normally nice to you.
Yeah.
But she was like, she complained to the person above me and said that I was racist. She was black, and she said that I was racist, and the manager was like, how is she racist? Because she like is black. And she said, well, she doesn't act black. She's not black enough. And I was just like, okay, now here we go.
I can't even.
Yeah.
I can't even.
It just doesn't make any sense.
What's acting black?
Right?
What is acting
Go
black?
ahead and tell me. Like, sis, go ahead.
Because there are so many different countries full of black people.
Mm-hmm.
There's Afro-Brazilians, there's Nigerians, there's Ethiopians, there's, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
African Americans. We all have our own different cultures. Like, I'm half Jamaican, and personally, like, being an islander, it's a completely different culture than being African American.
Yes, yeah.
Very different.
And I feel like it's the same with like every race too. Like even like white people, we separate them into like, you know, there's like what, Jews, Italians, like all of that jazz too. So it's just like it's this type of same thing. Like I don't know, man.
Yes.
But I wanted to go off from there talking about code switching.
Yeah.
Because this is like a topic which like I don't feel like a lot of people talk about, but it's just like I feel like that comes naturally. Where, especially growing up in a small town, where it's just like you feel, like you said, like you took it as a challenge to be what the other person wanted or needed, and so it's like I feel like that like goes into code switching and doing that with different types of groups.
Yes.
So I don't know if you have any stories. What's your perspective on that?
I do have some stories on that. First off, I did take a class at Spelman, and it was about like the psychology of women, and a lot of it was about women in the workplace, and there was a lot of talk on how you have to code switch when you're in the workplace. Like, a lot of women in business straighten their hair, and they speak in a different tone, and you can't really use slang because it's not seen as professional. And honestly, that kind of brought me back to like high school. Like, I would definitely code switch. Like, I'd have my white friends, I'd have my black friends, and honestly, around both groups, I felt like I kind of had to put out this different character, for sure, because I wanted to be approved by both or whatever. And so with my white group, I guess I would be more quiet. Actually, I was pretty quiet around both groups, but I think it's because I was so in my head about like not feeling like I fit in. I was just like,
you were kind of thinking about whatever you were saying.
Exactly. I was overthinking, and you know, I would get a lot of people telling me what I should be and what I should not be. So a lot of the time, I didn't feel comfortable like being my full self around any of the friend groups I hung around. But then, honestly, recently, like, it happened after I got out of high school, after I stopped hanging out with people that, like, I didn't really click with, but I just felt like I had to click with. That's when I really started to be who I am. Like, and I feel like, like, I feel like I don't really fit into any, like, stereotype. Like, I'm kind of just Liv. Like, I feel like that's just who I am. Sometimes people can't see me as, like, maybe talking black. Like, my sister, like, I moved to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And she kind of was like, oh, like, you talk different now. And then my friend Omari was like, oh, you've got more swag now. I'm like, okay. Okay, like, honestly, it's like, but it feels natural. Like, I know everything I'm doing now feels natural. So if they say that, that's cool. But, like, it doesn't feel forced. I just feel like who I am. Yeah, so.
I think that's another big thing, too, is, like, sometimes I think that's how you can figure out who are the real ones, too. Is, like, based off of, like, when you change, like, how do they react to? Not that, like, you have to accept everybody, like, to a certain extent. Like, there's a line. But, like, not that you have to necessarily be friends with everybody even after they change, but I think that, like, shows who you have in your circle. Because, like, I remember when I was, like, trying to remember to, like, set boundaries and not just say yes to everything. And, like, my friends back home, they're like, okay, so, like, is it because you got a man? Is it because, like, why?
Because I'm respecting myself now.
Exactly. They're like, okay, so it's all, like, you know, it's all JJ's fault or whatever. And it was like, you know, not that there's, like, that wasn't any type of shade to them, but it was just, like, kind of like, okay, they said I was acting different. And it was, like, just because I was trying to actually be more of me and figure out more of who I actually am versus just letting everybody else shape me.
Yes. And that's what I've noticed, like, you can never go wrong with being authentically yourself because you attract the type of people that are supposed to be in your life no matter what. That is why, like, I definitely feel like my circle is a lot smaller now because when you're authentically yourself, you know where you feel the best, where you feel like you can be completely yourself, and you don't want to trade that for anything.
Yes.
You don't want to trade that for anything. You don't want to go back to hiding. You don't want to go back to being in your shell, acting like someone you're not. You love this new life where it's like you're authentically yourself, and that's all you need.
Yes. Period. I feel like every type of relationship shapes you, and I think I saw that on like Jay Shetty recently too, where it's like,
I love him.
Yes, and it was just kind of like something like every relationship shapes you. Like they either like show you a new part of yourself, or they show you like in the future what you don't want or what you are looking for. And so I feel like that's like a big thing. I don't know. That was like kind of random, but
that's a huge thing. That's really a huge thing.
Yes.
I feel like it shapes the quality of your life when you do that because you're just surrounded by a circle who really loves you for you. Hands down.
Pretty much the next thing that I kind of wanted to talk about with like fitting in is I am the youngest of 4, and I feel like growing up, and like even I just talked to JJ about this like the other day where I felt like with my oldest brother, I always really looked up to him, and like he's kind of the one that helped me get into the tech like industry and stuff like that, or at least gave me like the tools to get into it. And so I feel like like I was trying to do stuff because of his role modeling and stuff like that, and like what he like any type of like guidance that he gave me, I felt like I had to take it. And like same with my other siblings, like I felt like anytime my sister would like get whatever she would get into like a hobby wise, I would try to get into, and like so she was drawing, I was drawing, like and just all that. And so like it was kind of something that I thought about whenever I was thinking about like just the topic of this podcast episode, because like I never really thought about that too much beforehand. But I feel like that can happen a lot with like just your family in general, what what they expect from you, and then also when you're young, you just don't really have as much to go off of, especially, you know, like we said, like growing up in a small town, you don't have like that like availability of like seeing what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
And so I felt like I always followed my siblings, and I didn't really feel like I had other options until like I started expanding my horizons by meeting new people and stuff. So yeah, I feel like that's a struggle.
Yeah, no, I get that. And honestly, I'm on the opposite spectrum of you. I'm the older sister. So, honestly, my sister and I butt heads like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think she's ever looked up to me the way that you look up to your brother. So,
what's the gap in age?
She's 18 and I'm 21, so it's like 3.5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm 23 and my brother is 34.
Okay.
So
that's a different.
Yeah.
That's a different gap.
Yeah.
Does your brother know that you look up to him like that?
I don't know, honestly. Like, I think I've tried to express it, but our family has always had this, like, super weird dynamic. I feel like everything is unsaid.
Yeah.
Like, I literally talked to them about it when I moved here. I was like, y'all, we need to start talking about how we actually feel about each other and, like, what we're actually thinking. Because I, like, told my parents, like, when I was on the phone with them one day, I was like, I feel like we've always just, like, walked like on eggshells around each other, and we're family. Why are we doing that? Like, so I have tried like to talk to him about it, but honestly, recently we had like a falling out. But I stayed at his place and with JJ, and I was supposed to like feed his fish and feed his cat and everything, and let the record state like everything, all were alive, everything was fine, but like he kind of like it wasn't completely up to his standards, and like. He came home, and he had, like, a rough trip or whatever, but, like, he came home and kind of, like, really went off on me for everything, and, like, not being up to his standards and stuff like that, like, and it was immediate, like, and we hadn't seen each other in, like, literally, like, almost a year.
Wow.
And so it was just kind of, like, crazy. Wow. It actually had been, like, exactly a year, so I was, like, it was, like, the first time that I felt like we really, like, got to talk for a long time, and so I was, like, that's pretty crazy, so I kind of lost a little bit of, like, you know, like that role model-esque vibe from him after that scenario. But also, he's been through a lot, so it's like, I don't hold anything against him. It's just kind of changed my viewpoint. But I think he knows how much I love him and that I've tried to do stuff to follow him. Yeah. But I think now I'm trying to veer off of that, though. Because, like, now I'm realizing, like, and now I'm in the tech industry. I'm like, great, I have a salary position. This is great. It can help support me to do the things that I actually want to do. Instead of, like, whenever I was there and he was trying to talk to me about, like, next steps of, like, if I needed to make more money and stuff like that. And he was like, you know, get the certification, learn this coding language. And I was like, actually, I really don't want to do that. But I did I felt nervous to tell him. I felt like I was going to, like, let him down if I said that or, like, think that he would think that I was maybe judging him or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and I feel like that was, like, needed in a certain point of your life to bring you to where you are now. So, yeah, it's okay that it's not at that place anymore because not everything's going to stay at the same place. Like, things are ever evolving. So I think it's okay that you feel differently about it now. And I kind of wanted to bring it back to when you were talking about family, like being on eggshells around each other, no one really wanting to express how they feel. Yes. I really felt you on that when you said that, and that's kind of something that makes me feel like I don't fit in with my family, because I feel like I can never say what I feel around my family without them freaking out, or without them thinking I'm weird, or I'm too sensitive, or whatever. That's something I actually still, to this day, feel. Like, when I went to Canada to visit my family, there were moments where I didn't really agree with what was going on, and I kind of felt out of place, and I kind of felt odd about what was going on, but I didn't feel like I could say that because they would have gotten upset at me. And, yeah, that's something definitely with my sister. Like, when there's an issue, I want to talk about it, and she doesn't. So, that, and then, so that kind of makes me feel...
Yeah, did she, like, say that you're sensitive for being like that?
Yes.
Oh, I hate that. That's such a struggle.
Yeah.
I definitely understand where you're coming from. And I feel like that, like, just comes from, like, a thing, too. It's, like, a lot of people think blood means, like, everything. And I feel like I have always kind of disagreed on that topic. Not that I don't love my family, but, like, I think just because they are your family doesn't mean that you have to be like them, or that you have to, like, even that you have to, like, fit in. Obviously, it's, like, something that's, like, ingrained in us. But it's, like, almost, like, I don't know. It's, like, I think me and JJ have kind of talked about this before in the past, too. It's just, like, we've always felt like we kind of were different, like stood out and kind of went on a different path from our family. So I'm sure it's probably how you kind of feel. Especially you talked about doing this kind of stuff with your mom. Like, she is supportive, but she also doesn't really get it.
She doesn't get it at all.
Yeah.
And I get it. She's also from a different generation. But yeah, like, I'm always like the one saying, Mom, everything's going to be okay. And she's like, everything's shit. You know what I mean? I'm so different. Like, I really try to see, like, the faith in things, and I try to help her see that. And there's, like, kind of like a difference with that. But overall, I feel like my mom is definitely the one I'm closest to in my whole family. Because she's tried to understand me, and we've definitely been through a lot together. But yeah, I definitely feel like it's hard when you don't feel like you fit in with your family, and then you go outside your family, and then you also don't feel like you're fitting in.
Yeah, you're like, there's something wrong with me.
Like, that's why I feel like throughout high school, like, I was really depressed. Yeah. And I feel like it's because I'd come home and I'd feel like out of place, and then I would go to school and I'd feel out of place, and I'd go there and I'd feel out of place, dance class, I'd feel out of place. You know, it's like everywhere I went, I would be, like, feeling like a lost soul.
Yeah. You're like, where do I go?
Right.
Like, yeah.
Right. And then it's when you get out of high school that you really explore yourself and you're able to communicate better, and then that's when you can find, like, who you are and know where you feel your best.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So,
yeah. No, I totally understand that. I feel like people talk a lot about how, like, the 20s is really difficult, and I get it, because, well, at least, like, now being, like, 23, and then, like, being around JJ, he's older. I've always been around older people, like, pretty much throughout my whole life. I've always been, like, the youngest, so I've seen people go through the struggles, but, like, low-key, like, thinking back, I really do feel like that middle school, high school phase is the hardest part of your life, and they always say, try to enjoy it, your youth, and everything like that, and it's like, but you have for some reason, they act like you have all the independence when you have no independence. They act like you know, like, or we feel like we know everything, but we really know nothing. And it's just like, there's so many options, but no one tells us all the options. So it's just like, I don't know, there's just so many different things where I feel like those, like, tweens into the teens, like, I feel like those are really, like, the hardest points of life. Because it's just like, you don't know who you are, and like you said, it's just like, okay, you feel, if that happens to you and you're in a scenario like that, you just feel alone. And then you don't know if that's how it's supposed to be, or if you'll ever get out of it.
Right. And something I've learned is, like, I feel like there's no supposed to be. Like, everyone makes you feel like it's supposed to be this way, and it's supposed to be that way, but there is no supposed to be. There's literally no supposed to be. It's what it is for you, individually. So... yeah.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Tattoo. Oh, well.
Oh, yeah, I saw that when I first met you. I was like, I love that. You're like a whatever person. Like, what is. Yeah.
Funny enough, I'm not really, but I try to be. That's why I got it.
Oh, yeah. And then, like, I saw that one, too. Like that, and I was like, that just gives off like that.
Yes, and my, like, lover one's all messed up, but then everyone was like, just keep it. They said, like, keep it like that, even though it's, like, faded.
Yeah.
But, I can't wait to get more tattoos, but...
yeah, I definitely want more. I want one in Reddit, like you have there. I want to say, like, chosen right here under my boobs.
Oh, say less. I love that. We have to share Pinterest boards after this.
Definitely. Those are... I spend at least, like, 15 minutes a day on Pinterest, organizing my boards, making sure it's all
I love that.
set. Yeah.
Hey, that's a good way to find yourself. Pinterest.
Yeah.
You can find what you actually enjoy. That's
so true.
That's so crazy. I love Pinterest so much.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Crazy.
It definitely helped with inspiration.
Yes.
Yeah.
That pretty much, like, gets us into the conclusion of this episode. I feel like we talked about a lot of good topics, some type of random, but they all kind of really fall under the fitting in aspect.
Yes.
So I feel like there's lots of good food for thoughts, you know?
Yes. And moral of the story, be who you want to be what feels good, and surround yourself around people that also accept and love that. Who you feel like you can be 100% yourself around. That is so important.
So important.
Yes.
And I think, like, a part of getting into that is, like you said, like, figuring out who you are and loving yourself. And that's what I was going to say is the RuPaul's Drag Race, how they always, like, how are you going to love your, like, what is it?
Oh my God, I know he used to say it. I forgot how it goes.
Oh my gosh, I'm going to try to think of it. Okay, so I figured it out. It's, okay, if you don't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love somebody else?
Period.
That's on period. So it goes with everybody, you know, like, and even, like, thinking about, like, if someone has made fun of you in the past and you said that you don't fit in, maybe they don't even love themselves, and so that's not even something that you should worry about.
Not
so
personal.
you know? Exactly, not personal. So love yourself. And I saw this thing on another podcaster's Instagram. I'm just shouting everybody out. But another podcaster, and she said, love yourself enough to where someone else's presence or their non-presence.
Yeah.
Their absence.
I think I've seen this one.
It's Sundays.
Yeah.
Sundays. Sundays KK or something like that. Yes. Love yourself so someone else's presence or absence won't affect your peace.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's a good point. Like, you know, even when it comes to like fitting in, it's really all about how you feel about yourself internally versus anything else. And I think that's where it stems from. So,
yeah.
Love yourself, everybody.
Yes, definitely a strong message.
Yes.
But thank you for having me on your podcast.
Thank
I enjoyed
you.
it. I enjoyed the conversation.
Yes, it's been amazing. We had a whole other conversation off, like, recording, and we're like, man,
why didn't we film it?
Yeah, the one time we didn't have, like, the cameras on us, because we've had every little one's, like, set up now. It's been a cool set. Liv has shown me the ways. But yes, thank you so much for taking the time, and everybody go check out her podcast, Thoughts by Liv, and yeah, thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you guys